I need that song in my life. Get me going in the gym. What's going on, everybody? Welcome into First Take. Stephen A. Smith, Max Kellerman. I'm Molly Karam Rose. We'll get into Dallas in a second. Today is the anniversary of Jackie Robinson breaking the long-standing color barrier in baseball. We will certainly have the guys weigh in on that and his impact and sacrifice in just a bit. But gentlemen, we pick up in Dallas. I've got some news for you. Let's get right into it. So on the same day that Dallas Cowboys Executive Vice President Stephen Jones said that the organization had communicated with Dak Prescott and Ezekiel Elliott after a TMZ report of a party Friday at the quarterback's house in suburban Dallas that appeared to have violated guidelines regarding the coronavirus pandemic, a frustrated Prescott issued a statement Tuesday regarding the gathering. But first, Stephen Jones told 105.3 The Fan, quote, "I think they're certainly aware now of how sensitive these situations are. I don't think you'll be seeing that anymore." Later Tuesday, Prescott put out this statement. "To set the record straight, I know that we all need to do our best to socially distance, and like everyone else, I am continuing to adjust to what that requires. But the truth is that I was with fewer than 10 people for a home dinner, not a party, on Friday night. I'm very sensitive to the challenges we're all facing in making sure to support the first responders and medical personnel and everyone else putting in long hours." Stephen A., does Dak's statement make you change your mind?
Somewhat, only from the standpoint that we got at him because whether it was 30 or 10, it appeared to be a party. And people were fraternizing and socializing with each other without engaging in social distancing. The reality of the situation is that we reacted to the reports, and based on what he's saying, if it's erroneous, then we owe him some level of modification. Not totally, because in the end, there were people in his home that don't live in his home, and they were having dinner together. And during the coronavirus, that's not something that has been encouraged, not by medical professionals, not by government officials, not by anybody. So I'm not trying to give a complete mea culpa here, but I do think out of sheer respect for him and his position, because he does have truth on his side, he would happen to know how many people were there and what have you. If it wasn't a party, and indeed it was a dinner, if it was less than 30 people and it was less than 10 people, then that's contrary to the things that were being reported. That's what we reacted to. And if that's what we reacted to, we owe him to some degree, some semblance of modification in terms of recognizing the fact that he may have been with just a few people. Now, obviously, one would surmise Ezekiel Elliott doesn't live with him. He has his own crib, along with the other people that were in attendance, at least some of them. So he's not completely off the hook here. But in the end, if it's less than 30, if it's less than 10, and it was a dinner as opposed to a party and what have you, then that does paint a different picture than what was initially disseminated to the masses. And as a result of that, I would modify my position somewhat. I wouldn't go at him as hard. I still don't think it was great, but nevertheless, I wouldn't go at him as hard as I did yesterday.
It changes nothing for me because I went on the assumption that it was 10 or fewer people, that it was a legal gathering, that there were no restrictions set in place or guidance set in place to tell him not to do that. And still, I was very critical, so nothing changes here. I do like the fact that he said, look, I'm still adjusting to this. It's true. It takes a period of adjustment. Here in New York, where it hit really hard, and earlier people got used to, earlier in the process, social distancing and what that means. So I accept that. I like that he said that. It explains some things. But my criticism originally is based on this. Why do you have people at your house who don't need to be there? I don't care, frankly, Stephen A., if it's a gathering of 15 people, if they all live in the same house, if you live there, if you have a large family and you all live under the same roof, what are you supposed to do? I get that. But no matter how you view the people at that gathering, teammates that you think of like brothers, extended family, cousins, whoever it is, if they don't live where you live, by the way, this goes for your mom and dad. If someone doesn't live where you live and they don't need to be there, they shouldn't be there, because then they go home to where they live, and whoever has anything spreads it there, and then et cetera, et cetera. So who needs to be there other than your immediate family? The plumber, the exterminator, the refrigerator repair guy, you need someone there, so you carefully have them come in, you observe social distancing, you wipe everything down, and then they leave, right? Or they leave, you wipe everything down. Like, that's the level of seriousness people need to take this. And I understand a lot of people talking about, well, it's the same number of fatalities as the flu. Yes, because we've changed the entire world. With social distancing, we've kept this to where people are passing away from it at roughly the same numbers as a flu. Because we've changed the world to do that, and the worst may still yet to come. So this needs to be taken very seriously. And what I saw from Dak at the time was a lack of seriousness. Now, he says he's still getting used to it. That indicates a kind of learning curve. Okay, that's great that he had that response to it, but the initial criticism of having people over for a dinner party remains the same from me.
Well, for me personally, here's where I think the modification comes in. Number one, again, I was operating under the assumption that it was at least 10 people. So I'm that's my personal mea culpa there. But the other part about it is that the reason why I didn't completely let him off the hook, Mac, is because you had people there that clearly didn't mind displaying how they were socially gathering with one another. Because TMZ nor anybody else would have known anything about it had people not been inside his house literally filming the buffet along with the fact that they were there having a good old time. That's the kind of thing that Dak should be upset about rather than the media going off about it. He should be upset about people that disseminated his private business. We would not have known about what was going on at his home, inside his crib, or whatever the case may be, if somebody had not publicized it that he had invited into his home. So perhaps he should be looking at them instead of the media or what have you. But again, it's not 30 people. It's not 10 people. It was less than that. And because of it, I'm just going to sit up there and modify my position to some degree because I went at him pretty hard because I thought it was a very, very stupid thing to do. And I don't think it was as stupid as if he had 10 plus or 30 people there.
Yeah, people should not be coming over for dinner parties. Whatever the guidelines say about, well, we're under that number of people. If people don't live where you live, then you shouldn't be seeing them unless there is, as I said, if you have an emergency in the house, the refrigerator's not working, you need to refrigerate, then you get the guy to come over and fix it. I understand that. But other than something like that, people shouldn't be over. And that's what I was responding to. Stephen A., I think part of it is in terms of people like you, for example, who thought, wait a minute, that looks like more than 10 people, boy. NFL players eat a lot of fries. When that camera panned by those fries, you're like, how many bins of fries is for how many people? Apparently like 8 or 9.
Yeah.
Personally,
gentlemen,
I
really
didn't notice
did it for
the
me.
I didn't notice the fries. I noticed the sweet potatoes. That's just
I think that's cultural, guys, but I'll leave you with this. Early in March, there was a story. I get the paper sent to my house every day. It was a New York Post, and it was a family that had gotten together in New Jersey. We all live in the tri-state area, and 3 of those family members passed away. And as soon as that happened, that was the end of it. I know it was Passover, it was Easter, but when you hear stories like that, it's just not worth it at this point. Even with certain family members, et cetera, just to stay home and social distance as best as you can. And like you're saying, unless it's people that actually live in your home. We will leave it on that note here. When we come back here on First Take, we need your help at home. We want you guys to decide the debate. Send us the topics. You want to see Max and Stephen A. go head-to-head on. It's really easy.
Contract after being tagged by the Cowboys last month. Quarterback reportedly will not participate in any of the team's virtual offseason programs without a new deal. The Cowboys CEO Stephen Jones said yesterday he's not aware of what degree Dak's participation level will be. And Max and Stephen A. will no doubt be talking about this and more in First Take, which starts in just a few minutes. Max, what is your big picture take on how Dak should be handling this situation?
I actually, and I'm pro-labor, and I'm always on the side of the player, and I say hold out to get your money if you need to. I actually think it's a better idea to participate in virtual workouts. The idea of not participating, I understand it's to signal, hey, I'm not happy. I don't want to be a part of this if you're not going to take care of me. I get that, and he hasn't really been paid by the NFL proportional to what he's done so far. But really, to my understanding, most of that in a full contact sport like football is you want to limit the risk. Well, in a virtual workout, you're not going to really risk your health. And in fact, you will be better prepared if and when the time comes that you work something out. So I see the virtual workout as all upside for Dak and no downside, and the only reason not to do it is to signal how unhappy you are, but I'm sure they already know that.
Well, do you think it makes a difference, though? Because, I mean, we've seen Jerry cave when Zeke Elliott did something reasonably similar, I guess, a year ago. So do you think his signal will actually make a difference?
I